Hey guys, it's Daniel, licensed therapist. Whilst perusing interwebs, I came across this fascinating interview between Chris Williamson and Neil Strauss. You guys remember Neil Strauss? If you guys don't know who Neil is, he is a journalist who infiltrated the world of pickup artists. And while doing so, he became one of the best pickup artists in the world. And he wrote about his experience and about being a pickup artist in his book, The Game, which came out in 2005. I remember the book looked like a Bible, as if it was the Bible of picking up girls, and I actually did read it back in the day. Hey, it's only because my friend had it and he told me to read it.
That's not mine.
And I didn't actually use any of the methods to pick up women.
That's not mine.
And although he does write about his methods, I can't even remember a single method today.
I don't even know what this is. This sort of thing ain't my bag, baby.
But the book was absolutely fascinating. And in this clip, Neil actually comments on modern dating. So let's see if this pickup artist has a good take on modern dating. Let's get into it.
Are you familiar with LMS? Do you know what that is?
No.
Lux Money Status.
Oh, wait, it makes sense. Okay.
So it's the triage priority list that a lot of guys in the black pill movement rely on and say is most important. Lux is most important, then money, then status.
For men?
Yes, for men. What's your thoughts?
My thoughts is it's a sad way to think. It's a sad way to think. I guess like I'm just kind of thinking out loud. I got a bunch of thoughts on the stuff you're saying. But to speak back to your what you were saying about what it's like to be someone, I think mostly we're all living our own stories of what it's like. And I think like if you choose to see the best in people, you're going to notice the best behavior. If you choose to see the worst in people, you're going to notice the worst behavior. And I think it starts with the eyes you're seeing the world through.
I am very impressed. And Neil actually touches on a couple of the psychological theories that I love and that I use every day in my practice. When he says we're living out our stories, I feel like he's referencing narrative therapy. And when he says with the lens in which we see our world, I feel like he's referring to object relations theory. Like I said, both of which I love and that I use every day. It would not surprise me if Neil studied psychology or if he was in therapy himself. So far, I'm actually very impressed. And I think his whole point about looks, money, status thing not being absolutely objectively true is, in my opinion, very valid. Let's keep going.
And so down to looks, money, status, I think they got it wrong. I think that there's that, and how would they define status? I guess I'll ask you.
I wouldn't be too sure. I would guess something like popularity.
Right. So I would say it's high status behaviors. And I mean, I know this because I went and hacked it in the game, right? As a guy who is not that good looking, as a guy like who, at least at that time, didn't have any wasn't someone recognized, didn't have status, didn't have money, didn't have looks, didn't have fame. We realized, and I was a guy who, once I wrote the game, I had the people with the most looks, the most money, the most status, calling me like this fucking 5'6" big nose, dude who keeps saying, and can't even articulate a really clean sentence, calling me for advice. The same shit I thought I was alone dealing with, they were dealing with the same thing. And I think it really goes down to like how you're the story you tell yourself more than money, looks, and status, and then how you reflect that story. As a simple example, I've seen a lot of people with money, looks, and status engage in low status behaviors, meaning being insecure, being doubtful, not carrying themselves well, not speaking, just always being worried about what others thinking about them, and whatever those gained for them, they lost it. There's like a troubadour poem that's something about when they were first sort of talking about making romance into art in that era. That's like the eyes go forth to seek an image which they can then recommend to the heart. And so I think the money, looks, and status might get your foot in the door, but after that, it's who you are that enables you to stay in that door, unless You're dealing with someone who has similarly low self-esteem, right? And is just out there looking for a target who has those things because they've got their own wounds. They feel like that gives them safety.
Neil, my man, taking on the black pillars head on. And I feel like in essence what he's saying is it's emotional health that really attracts women. And I actually think that that is very true. And I think some people would object and say, well, there are some women who don't care about that. There are some women who all they care about is having a Bentley, having a mansion in the Beverly Hills, or having a very expensive purse. I don't know the names of any expensive purses. But in my opinion, they are fooling themselves a little bit and they're not really thinking it through, because I don't think that material things are enough to sustain a relationship, because that's just simply not a relationship is all about. Let's keep going.
Another perspective on the LMS thing you said, which the second perspective is people don't know what they want. So what they want are the things behind that. So a way to think about, for example, it used to really hurt my self-esteem when I read personal ads and everyone wanted a guy who was 6 feet and taller. How tall are you?
5'10".
Okay, that's great, right? I'm 5'6", you know, maybe 5'6.5" at a stretch, right? And it took me a long time to realize that it wasn't height that they were looking for. What they were looking for was safety. I want to feel when maybe what is, let's just say, what does money represent? Money represents that some degree of, you know, security,
Competence.
and competence. That was the word I was looking for. Exactly, competence. So if you look at the reasons underneath these and you embody the reasons underneath these, which anybody can do, the other stuff doesn't matter.
Okay, this guy just continues to impress me. I just feel like he's just a very thoughtful guy. And I believe that he's right again. Looks, money, status, these things mean so many different things to so many different people. Let's take money, for example, because money is something I deal with all the time in my work with couples. Money can mean security, luxury, power, status. It can mean acceptance. It can mean freedom. It can mean experiences. It can mean so many different things. And I think it's very insightful for Neil to say that you can provide some of these things without money. But let's say there is that woman who only wants what money can provide. Well, let me ask you a question. Is that the type of woman you want to be married to? Is that the type of woman you want to trust? Because trust is one of the most important things in a relationship. Let's keep going.
Yeah, I think that's where the sort of disenchantment came from, which was not feeling like you had the actual foundation, realizing that you could create the glitzy sort of mystique. Like, you do not need to see how much money I have. You do not need to see how much money I have. And then going, oh, I can get what I want by pretending to play this game. And deep down, I still don't feel like I'm worthy of it. I don't think that they see me. What they see is this persona.
As soon as you're saying, I don't want you to know how little money I have, you're like that influencer we were talking about earlier who's promoting a vegan diet while eating meat for dinner. You know, you're creating a split in yourself. So here's the other thing you were talking about is, I think these people you're talking about, you know, the concept of locus of control. Like, there's external locus of control and internal locus of control. And I'm probably gonna get these wrong, so apologies if I do. So the idea is, like, are the things that are happening to me the fault of others outside myself, which is a nice thing to believe, right? It's just women are like that, thus I'm opting out. Men are like that, thus I'm just not dealing with that. The world, you know, and so we're just saying, we're creating this, it's everybody else's fault, so I don't have to change. I can just hate on them, right? Or B, the way I am and the way I think you are, is that, like, this is going on. How can I do better? How can I change? How can I be better? How can I understand? How can I be empathic? And, like, it's a lot more work, but man, you're a lot happier.
Did this guy just say split in yourself and locus of control?
What? Did we just become best friends? Yup!
If I didn't know better, I would think that he was a therapist. And he explains locus of control very beautifully. He's right. It is better to have an internal locus of control. It's my fault. It's my responsibility. It's on me. We want to have the responsibility because that means we have the power to change the outcome if we wanted to. But I feel like Neil doesn't really answer Chris's question, the question of what about winning a girl over by fooling her or pretending like you're something that you're not? And I do feel like Neil, though, alludes to the answer. And I think his answer is don't fool anyone. Don't be anybody that you're not. Because frankly, that's what insecure people do. He's saying be healthy, be secure. At least that's what I think he would say. Hey, maybe that's me just projecting. Let's keep going.
Yeah, I think the benefit from the cynic's perspective, the benefit of never trying is never having to feel the pain of failure.
Yeah.
I came up with this idea called the cynicism safety blanket, which is basically that. That's what that's why it exists. It's sour grapes at an existential level.
Yeah. And so I notice myself, if I ever start to, and I don't even do this anymore because I stopped it. Like if I ever start thinking something negatively about someone who's successful and start comparing their work to mine and why mine, I just stop instantly. And I just think, what can I learn from that for myself? And again, most of your listeners, I feel like are learning growth-minded people.
Correct.
But I think we can understand that there's certain people, and I've come across them, that if somebody is doing better than you, you can either try to do better or you can try to bring them down to your level. And that's a split in the world. But the people who try to bring them down are the loud voices right now.
Correct.
In the culture.
I guess I'm just going to have to go ahead and agree with everything that Neil is saying. I do feel like bringing people down is not a good thing, just like he says. And I give him a lot of credit for his insight to be able to see that in himself and also the strength to change that. In my estimation, I look at Neil and what I'm seeing in this interview, and I think that he is a very emotionally healthy person. And I think that that is the whole point, emotional health. Do you want to be attractive? Do you want to attract emotionally healthy people? Do you want to make sure the outcome of your relationship is a good, long-lasting, healthy one? Then be emotionally healthy. I feel like that is Neil's big point. And I just have to say, it's very rare for me to agree with everything that someone says. And of all people, a pickup artist. Who knew? Anyways, that's my reaction to this interview. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, consider liking and subscribing. And if you have anything you want me to react to, leave it in the comments down there. I would appreciate a link. Thanks for watching, you guys. I'll see you next time.